like content marketing is probably moving so fast that it's really hard to know what actually matters for your business. With all the changes and all the expert advice out there, I know that it can be tough to figure out where to focus your time and energy. But here is the thing: you don't need to follow every shiny new trend to make an impact in 2025. Instead, it's really about understanding a few key shifts and using them to your advantage in a way that feels right for you. So, in this episode, I'm getting real about what small business owners like you need to be on top of when it comes to content marketing in 2025. I'll be covering why putting people at the heart of your content is the ultimate game changer, and how to create messages that actually resonate with your audience, how AI can make your life easier without taking over your creativity or your voice, the big reason you need to own your audience's contact details, and hint here, it's about staying in control when platforms change, and how to work smarter, not harder, by making the most of the content you already have. By the end of this episode, you'll have a clear picture of what really matters in content marketing for 2025 and how to confidently adjust your strategy to suit yourself and suit your business without feeling overwhelmed. Welcome to the Powerful Content Podcast, your go-to source for content creation, strategy, and business inspiration. I'm your host, Mel Daniels, content strategist, coach, and speaker, empowering women across the globe to grow their business with powerful content that connects, nurtures, and converts. So, if you're ready to create standout content that gets you noticed and remembered, or build an aligned audience who love you and are ready to buy from you, you're in the right place. I believe that content has the power to connect us all. It's up to you how you use it. Listen in for genuine and insightful chats with guests, as well as practical tools and strategies from me. It's so lovely to have you here. Let's dive into the show. I acknowledge the Wongal people of the Eora Nation as the traditional custodians of the country that I am recording from today. I recognise their continuing connection to the land and waters. I pay my respects to elders past and present and extend that respect to all First Nation people listening today. Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to episode 152 of the Powerful Content Podcast. It is so lovely to have you here with me today. So I know that we're technically 1/12 of our way into 2025, but I thought I'd spend this episode talking about some key content marketing ideas that you need to be aware of going into the rest of the year so that you can really stay ahead of the game. Online business, and probably in particular content marketing, is constantly evolving at an increasingly faster rate, and I really believe that this year will be no different. Now, I want to be really clear before I start today's episode that this episode is not about trends. Trends are something that I prefer you to, well, not necessarily avoid, but maybe approach with a healthy amount of skepticism. What I'd much rather for you is to be informed and to understand how shifts in your perspective can really help you stay focused and aligned so that you can achieve what you want to achieve for your content and in your business. Now, this isn't about doing everything or following all the trends out there on all of the platforms. It's about understanding and making a choice about what matters for your business and for your audience. So yes, you have a choice. You don't have to do all the things. There are no shoulds when it comes to content. So the first key shift is to prioritize human first content. Now, I know that you're probably thinking, Dermil, of course I need to do this, but let's just break this down a little bit. Over time, the way that we have connected with and sold to our target audience has really changed dramatically. Fads have come and gone, technology has changed, and the way that we communicate with a mass audience has changed as well. So, I mean, gone are the days of the yellow pages and cold calling. Content marketing and marketing is very different today. So even though we now have the ability to speak to a large amount of people at the same time, and this podcast is a case in point here, there is a growing importance of connecting with audiences on a personal and human level. Now, our audience is constantly bombarded with information and content, and So have become far more discerning, choosing what to consume and when and what to reject. So just think of your own content consumption habits for a moment. And I bet that there's some emails that land in your inbox and you just delete and don't read them. Or there's certain social media posts that you always just scroll past. My son actually commented on my behavior this week as I was watching some Instagram reels. He said, "Wow, mum, are you even watching any of these until the end?" And my response was, "Only if they capture my interest in the first few seconds." So, seconds is all it's taking to decide whether I want to consume content or not. And it's seconds that it's taking my audience to decide what they want to consume or not. Anyway, as a result of this, consumers expect authenticity. They expect empathy and connection from the brands that they choose to engage with. And what does this mean for our content creation? Well, you know what I'm going to say here. If you've been around me for a while, you know that you need to be more you. So use stories, even from your everyday life, like I just did with the Instagram Reel story. Share personal experiences, thoughts, beliefs. Show your audience the person behind the business. Now, a super simple example that you could go and do today is create a short form piece of content. So, an email or a social media post that explains who you're not for and why. So, this helps your ideal client clearly identify themselves as someone who does want to be in your world. So, for an example, I might say, I'm not for people who want a formula, whose goal it is to go viral, or who insists on a perfectly shiny feed. And I'm assuming that's you as you're listening to this podcast. So, see how sharing about you and what you believe in, what you stand for, and how you approach what you do can help others really identify and want to come on that client journey with you. Okay, so the second shift is to use AI as your partner, not your employee. Now, this may seem like a bit of a contradiction to my first point here about creating human first content, but hear me out here. AI has been around for a couple of years, but the uptake and usage has increased significantly in the past 12 months. But I want you to think about how you're using it. AI isn't here to replace you, it's here to make your job easier. So I want you to think of AI as a creative assistant that can help brainstorm ideas, help streamline your processes, and even handle some of the heavy lifting in your business. And yes, I use AI most days. It actually helped me with an outline for this episode, and I use it to create social media posts that I can then tweak before I post. It helps me choose audio bites from my podcasts that I can use. It is a huge time saver. And when you've got other commitments in your life, whether it's a part-time job, full-time work, or even a family to look after, it can be a huge boost to your efficiency. So AI is my partner in content creation, not the content creator. There's a difference. So, AI tools can really help you focus on what matters most, and that's all about connecting with your audience. And the best part is that you don't need to become a tech expert. Start small and focus on tools that are easy to use, and then practice with them often. Now, a super simple action that you can take today is to find a blog or a transcript from a video or podcast that you've created in the past and use AI to generate 5 social media posts. And if you've never used a tool like ChatGPT before, you'll need to do a bit of groundwork, like letting it know who you are, what you do, and who you serve. But it should give you a really great base to start from that you can expand or edit as appropriate. Okay, shift number 3 is focus on platforms that you own. Now, I was speaking to one of my beautiful members of the Content Effect the other day about how she feels like she's finally got in the groove with her funnels and conversions, and how she's really looking forward to cementing this over the next 12 months. And as we spoke, though, it became really clear to me that she relies heavily on third parties, mostly Facebook, with a group and running ads to connect with her audience. She was bringing in cold audiences through ads, but then relying on Facebook to nurture. And we all know that relying on Facebook to show anything, whether personal, business, or group posts, is kind of a bit of guesswork. So, we spoke about using regular email marketing to nurture and just how, with simple maths, you're likely to reach more people using email marketing with a specific message than you are on socials. So, as an example, if you have a minimum level open rate of 20% for your emails and 500 people on your list, then that's 100 people that will read and listen and consume what you have to say. But if you have 500 followers on Facebook and with reach, as low as 1%, you'll potentially only connect with 5 people. So a really huge difference in my eyes. So back to focusing on platforms that you can own, or what's also known as first party data, then owning your audience, whether it's through an email list, your website traffic, or your own app, is absolutely essential. For me, there's just too much risk relying too heavily on social platforms where algorithms and reach can change overnight, or even, like in the case of TikTok in the USA, it's politicians who are deciding whether an app should even exist anymore. So, building your first party data requires creating lead magnets or free resources that your audience wants and needs. And you can go all the way back to episode 12 if you want to know more about how to create the perfect lead magnet for your audience. And then it's about nurturing your email list, which means communicating consistently with value. That goes back to my first point, is human centric. I really love sharing stories or lessons from my everyday life in my emails that connects with my content theme for the month. So a really super simple action that you can take today is to email your list. No matter how big, no matter how small, no matter when you last contacted them, send them a message today. What's something that you've done today or yesterday or this week that your audience could relate to? Perhaps it's a realization that you came to or a challenge that has cropped up and how you dealt with it. Trust me, they will love to hear from you. Now, the last shift for content marketing in 2025 is for you to embrace reimagination. So, as small business owners, your time is limited. I get that. My time is limited. So, instead of constantly creating from scratch, repurpose what you've already got to get more value from it. So, this really saves you time and ensures your message reaches more people in different ways. Now, if you also embrace my second point of leveraging AI as your partner in crime, this is going to be so much easier than what it used to be in pre AI days. I've always had a process for reimagination in place, but to be honest, AI has made a huge difference in my efficiency in this respect. So, having a core piece of content, a blog, podcast, or a video, and then reimagining it into other content isn't just a time saver, it's a smart way to increase your reach and impact without much extra effort. So, you can go back to episode 10 for more on the power of reimagination, but my own reimagination process goes something like this. I create a podcast, which turns into a blog. It drives my Instagram and Facebook posts, which are a combination of reels, static posts, and carousels. I utilize it on LinkedIn as well. And one email a week will be about the latest episode. So I'm using all of my content ecosystem with one idea or message. Now, you may have found this podcast episode through an email I sent or a social media post, or perhaps you Googled content marketing in 2025 and found my blog post, which landed you here. Now, reimagination means that you don't need to create content from scratch all the time, but it gives your ideal client various places to find out about you and what you do simply through that one piece of core content. It's so brilliant. I love it. It simply gives you the space to focus on other areas of your business. So, one super simple action that you could take today is to find a piece of content. It could be an email or a social media post that everyone seemed to really enjoy or engage in, and turn it into a 1 minute reel. Super easy way to reimagine your content. Okay, so that's my 4 areas of focus that I think that every small business owner needs to be aware of in 2025 with their content marketing. And just to recap those, it's about prioritizing human connection, it's about using AI as a creative partner in crime, it's about building and nurturing your own audience, and reimagining content purposefully. Now, remember, you don't have to master all of these things at once. Just choose one area to focus on and start there. Those small, consistent steps can make a huge impact. And if you'd like to know more about the power of creating content in a way that's aligned with your heart, mind, and soul, then make sure that you've got a copy of my book, The Power of Content, which is available directly from me or via Amazon. And the link to use for either of those methods is in the show notes. So if you'd like to think about these concepts that I've spoken about today a little bit more deeply, or uncover what may be best for you to focus on right now, get that clarity, I have a few reflective questions for you. Number one is, what does authenticity mean to me in my business? How can I infuse more of my values, personality, and story into my content to connect on a human level? Number two, how could I use AI to free up my time to focus on the parts of my business that bring me the most joy? And number three is, where am I currently spending the most time in my content marketing efforts? Is this aligned with my long-term goals, or do I need to adjust my focus? Remember, when you focus on what truly matters to you first, then your business and your audience next, content creation becomes easier and more impactful. Talk soon. Thanks so much for listening. That's it for another week. To get more powerful content in your life, make sure you're following along on socials. My handle is @meldbusiness. And just in case you're wondering, the groovy music for this podcast was created by Just Here on SoundCloud. I'd also be super grateful if you took a moment to rate and review this podcast so more amazing women like you can experience the power of content. And if you're like, hell Mel, stop talking, I'm ready to work with you now, here's how we can work some powerful content magic together. Firstly, come and join the Content Effect, my membership inspiring women with service-based businesses to ditch the content chaos and start creating standout content that gets you noticed and makes sales. You can join us by using the link in the show notes or just Google the Content Effect. The second way we can work together is via my one-on-one packages. We can create a sustainable content strategy or start to build out your client journey. It's up to you. Hop on over to meldbusinessservices.com.au/services to find out more. Until next time, have a beautiful week and embrace the power of your content.